Hello there, and welcome to the GitGud podcast. We are now on episode 8. I am Bruce, and I'm joined, as always, by the wonderful Magnus. Magnus, how are you doing? How is life? Golden Demon winner, Magnus Nielsen, I should say.
Well, back home, and we're really back to, I guess, everyday life. It's not, luckily the kid has been walking by the cabinet a couple of times and pointed and said, "Ooh, it's really nice in there." But everyone else is not really. So a golden demon winner in this household is not. You still have to do the dishes and
You're not being treated like royalty just because you have this this bronze statue that's come back.
No, not at all.
Damn. Well, I'll bear that in mind. Why bother then, really, in the grand scheme?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in the grander scheme, it's... yeah. It's not... I called my wife immediately after we got out. And she didn't really even understand. I was like, I actually want a demon. And she's like, yeah, that's cool. Look at the baby. Look what it's doing. Can you say hi, bye-bye, all of that shit? And I'm like, okay.
Get your ass back down to earth, Mr. Magnus.
We talked a bit, and then and I sent her the official photo afterwards, and she's like, oh, wow, so that's what you meant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That'd be well worse if after you'd explained it, I was just like, okay, well, here's, again, the child.
No. Yeah, and lots of family and friends actually have congratulated me in the sense that I don't really think they understand anything around magnitudes or what goes into it really. But because of things shared on socials and stuff like that, they knew. So it's
Look,
but now we're back to normal.
That's it. My parents sent you congratulations.
Yeah,
I think,
yes, exactly.
I think that's really the height. I think as soon as you get like all kinds of weird people saying good work, kudos. That's what nice. So. Really nice. Well then, before we get into it, I think obviously if you are listening to us and I've not already mentioned it, and that's on me, we have a Patreon. Now seems like a good time to mention it, patreon.com/GG Painting. If you would like to get feedback and guidance from the one and only Golden Demon winning Mr. Magnus Nielsen, you can do so via that. We also have a thriving active community that is a little bit chaotic, and I dearly love it. We also will have going live today, which is Friday the 11th, our kind of more in-depth review on the Golden Demon paint jobs we saw, essentially the work, which is I found a very interesting discussion, very interesting, but this is going to be more about the story, I guess reflections, maybe more of the human element in regards to Golden Demon. So, on that, I have a million thoughts. I'm very interested in it being your second competition in 2 weeks. Second competition ever in 2 weeks. So it was obviously a big event for you, Magnus. Meeting a lot of people, meeting a lot of peers. I think it's fair to say you've been well known socially through socials and through a while, but it was the first time for you meeting. So tell me your Golden Demon story. How did you find it?
Yeah, so for me, it's been really mostly, I guess, networking. In the sense that it's not that I didn't want to look at cabinets, but the setup itself could be, it wasn't the best. They were kind of like two sides of a square where it was really good. And then the other two where it was between not good and atrocious. So it was hard. It was hard even to get real footage from or real photos. And the lighting wasn't the best as usual. So I spent some time, of course, looking. I was most of my time, most of the days around cabinets. But quite a lot of that time was really talking to people. Lots and lots of people reached out because, well, we're doing this thing, which means it's easy to recognize this. And luckily, not. I mean, there might be people who were or did hold back, but so many people didn't, which I'm really grateful for, because otherwise there would be quite a lot of people I wouldn't have met, because I mean, because of it being at Spiel, you also had quite a lot of random people well, I say random, but people who aren't really connected to Golden Demon going by and looking at the models and stuff like that. So if you don't know people's, well, what they look like and who they are already, it's it could just as well be someone not connected to it, which means going up to everybody and just, oh, so which one is yours? I'm just here with the kid, right? Would be half the time. So I'm really grateful for all the people who reached out to me, because it made connection really easy. Also, it was really overwhelming. So so having your focus on, I mean, we went with our own community, and we had or talked with a lot of other people from other communities, and then everyone kind of in between that. So so many things were going on while you were also looking at cabinets. So it is hard not to get a bit overwhelmed. Yeah.
It is by definition, like, I guess, one of those events where there is too much to look at. There is the miniatures, there is connections to be made. It happens or happened within Spiel, which is an enormous event by any stretch of the imagination, just absolutely giant. So there are tight crowds. And I think probably that's why within that, I think both of us found a lot of solace in talking to individuals and like having little happenstance connections with people and sharing those passions and really kind of valuing that. I will shout out Young Phoenix as, like, I remember waiting in that queue to put my minis in, and seeing him gave me a big old hug, and I was like, okay, we're here now. This is good. Ultimately this is what it's about. Like, I can almost forget about the miniatures and just like have fun chatting to people. I think it's interesting that, like, we know people through their handles, not their faces. And that's really strange, like, quasi-social relationships. So, like, so for example, I will say, well, when Ollie and I were at the airport, we met Tom, and then Kane came. But actually, it's like, no, when me and Primaris Project were at the airport, Dog Peak Minis came over, and then KPH Minis came, and it's like that. It suddenly begins to put faces to handles, then learn names, and then you need to put faces to work, which is the other kind of flip of the coin. But the thing that really made me happy throughout was, as you say, when people came up to us. I mean, I had a lovely chat with Erka, who obviously ended up with 2 Golden Demons, thoroughly deserved golds in both, and we were talking about the mental health aspect of it, and I think he's a very good, very well spoken on those issues, and maybe something of the generational shift is that we're more willing to talk about those issues as a community, which I think is really good and healthy. But 1,000 connections like that. I will say one that was particularly meaningful to me was getting to speak to and shake the hand of Zemikito. As I said this to him, he was the guy that got me into the hobby. It was early TikTok that got me interested. It was early Zemikito YouTube tutorials that got me painting. And dude's just lovely, giant beard, what a legend of a man. There's a lot of people I'll be shouting out throughout this episode just because everyone's so wonderful. But, that as a particular kind of point of moment of meeting a YouTube face or an Instagram face really meant a lot to me personally. So the Golden Demon space, if you're not aware, dear viewer, I work in the events industry, which is very useful for getting insights into things like this. So floor space is typically sold by square meter, and Games Workshop would have paid a lot of money to have a large amount of square meterage at that event. And within that, they have to put these giant cabinets, which are expensive to put there. And then they also have a big painting station. Then they've got to account for very large queues to drop minis off. Now, I will say, no events agency that I know of, the one I work for included, would have designed the stand like that, because it does create a lot of crush. But that's just the reality of it. Unfortunately, it's very interesting. I think a lot of the Games Workshop team do it themselves. But you were very calm about getting your minis entered. And then quite quickly you were just kind of like getting your sense of it. So I guess from my point of view, I'm really curious. Like, you obviously play at a very high level. Were you like then scoping the competition, or were you just not fussed? Was it a case of just wanting to chat to people? Because you had a brief chat with Font early on, I seem to recall.
Quite early on. I will say, I think, so talking to people, one of the first things that happened was Liam Phoenix showed up. And he's the first one who really just jumped into it. Big hugs, big smiles. Everything is joy, and you're there. That kind of, to me, kind of actually kickstarted everything.
They should just put him on the door, maybe as people are coming in.
Yeah, like, I think so. Just to give a hug and a hello, mate, to everyone, because he's just. I want to shout him out, because I think he was one of the most positive things for me. Like experiencing someone who almost, I mean, I don't know him, but I know him a little, right? But with no hesitation, just jumps in, and it's hugs and smiles, and it's serious talk and banter, and it's let's go for this, and how you guys feeling it, and are you excited, and all of that. So you could never have anyone better as a hype man for any event, I think. Huge shout out, because that dude is I
think what you see is what you get. Is like
exactly
that is the persona. When he was like, "Look, this is me now. On results day, it's going to be different."
And it,
that it really senses you're there then. I mean, kind of Phoenix Liam and Liam H, two dudes I would absolutely jump off cliff or no problem. Whereas they now need to be known. What was it? We have Double Demon Liam and Demon Liam.
Yes.
It's never not confusing, but
No. It always will be. Yeah, it was amazing, and it's just so that kind of kickstarted everything, and I could it actually helps someone like me being more relaxed, because it's like, okay, so if others do that, well, I can
That's
talk
what
to
you
whoever.
can do.
Yeah, exactly, and so I got to walk around and started looking into the cabinets, and whenever someone I knew popped up, I would reach out to them, and because quite a lot of people, I mean, already did share their stuff on socials, which means you could kind of like, oh, nice work, and happy that it's in the cabinet, and talk a bit about that. So I will say most of day one was only kind of like superficially looking into cabinets. I I will say I was also quite mindful that, especially because some of my stuff was higher up already from the beginning. Mindful that the lighting made it so that it doesn't make much sense to kind of do personal judging through the cabinets. You can see if something is, well, right up there or more in the middle. Of course you can, but you can't really judge high level pieces against each other that well. I couldn't, at least, because it depended massively on where it was in the cabinets. Top shelf, out to one of the sides, you couldn't see anything. Bottom shelf, you couldn't see anything. So if you were kind of the two shelves right in the middle, it was really good. You could see basically everything. That was really good.
Yeah, it was like a
actually.
golden zone, wasn't there?
Yes, it definitely was. Yeah. To the point where I think it took some time. Also because 40K single was right where the queue was for signing up, so it was terrible to get to it. But at some point, I think it was Aaron came, and we had a look in cabinets and stuff like that, and especially because he was in 40K large, which meant naturally you could just, you were already in the queue or whatever, and you would just go a bit further and you could see the single entries too. But it took quite a while to spot even the silver winner, because it was just awkwardly placed all the way up to registration and down in the bottom of a cabinet. You couldn't really, so that's one of the things where it was a bit frustrating that you couldn't go around freely, or whatever you want to call it, because there was really not any space for it.
And short of like almost doing it as like ticketed sessions of walkarounds, it's very difficult to manage that from a logistics standpoint.
Yes.
Even with the lighting, obviously, like you have these large glass boxes that need to be top lit because you can't project out into the crowd to throw light on them. So short of like having LED strips down them, which maybe could work, but then you'd have to rebuild each of those cabinets, and I'm guessing those cabinets go into storage after each event, and that's very expensive, and they don't want to do that. Like, I understand why it's a certain way, but to your point, like the fact that the 40K large gold winner was at the bottom of one of the cabinets, overlooked by many until it came to judging, and then obviously it was commended and placed higher. That was fascinating to me. I think I came into it quite hype anyway, because it was it's both of our first Golden Demons, so that's interesting. I had many chats with Primaris on the way there, because we travelled together, and he was telling me about the Warhammer Fest Golden Demon, which I think was his first. And getting to compare and contrast it. Also, that was when you had, I think we both had a Phoenix as our hype, but it was really important. Like an important moment for me was when I got off the plane, and I got to meet Mia and Yor for the first time, because I think we talked about in the last thing, they were some of the first community members I ever found, and like online friendships, and so seeing them in person, giving them both a big hug, talking about minis, that felt like there's a sense sometimes that online friendships can be a bit ephemeral, but when you're in person talking to people, it's very different, and you remind yourself like why you found community and why it's so important. So I was really nice. Also saw Rich Gray when I got off the plane, which was interesting. I said a brief hello to him before he headed off with his Autark. So first day, a lot of chatting. I think the thing that surprised me, and it continues to surprise me, was just talking to people who are well known in the community and being surprised when they're just down to earth, lovely people. You shouldn't be surprised, but I think I said last time, like, these are the gods of the community in many ways. And I remember when I was at MPO, I was a little bit afraid of like walking up to people and saying hello and talking to people, because almost in your, in your mind's eye, like, well, they'll be like, who the hell are you? Why should I say hello? But, one of the first things I did when I came into Q was say hello to Font. And turns out, really lovely dude, really chill. Turns out the guy really likes miniatures and is nice to talk to about. It's like, oh, right, okay, wonderful. But getting to do proper hellos to a lot of people I just spoke to digitally, like Phoenix, although I've met him briefly before, Liam H., James Tarot, who I've not spoken to before, NRM, DeCella, the big name, lots of lot of conversations that I really valued. And then I guess we'd have the no man's land day of Saturday. So we both arrived Friday. Well, you were there a little bit early, but putting the minis in day one was Friday for us. Saturday was the kind of big unknown of what's going to kind of come in, because the cabinets were looking a little bit bare on Friday.
Yes. Yeah,
and there was a case of like what's coming in. So how was your Saturday then?
So Saturday was more of for me, it was more of cabinets. At noon we had the last of the entries in, or just around noon, and you could kind of I guess begin to scope competition if you wanted to. I I didn't think I stood a chance in 40K, which meant, I mean, I won't say I didn't look there, but I didn't spend most of my time there. I was interested in AOS single and overwhelm, and then something else kind of curious happened that turned out that Duel and Diorama was stacked as fuck. It was
everyone
just
wanted violence in that category.
Yeah, it really was. And even though I really had no entry there, I still, I spoke to Erika before going to Golden Demon, because he actually reached out and said, I'm really grateful for some of the content you do, because I absolutely feel some of these things. So I had spoken to him before, and then he came and I talked to him a bit, and turned out he was another really lovely guy. And he brought a fantastic piece too. And I kind of, I asked about it, because I knew it was something he'd been working on for a long time. And I basically got the origin story of that piece, and it is, or was for me, impossible to not root for it afterwards, because of that, basically the origin story, right? And I think it kind of, to me, it kind of cemented the idea that yes, this is a painting competition, but for some people, what they put there is really heart and soul. They put their everything there, and sometimes that everything is 7 months of work from Font, and sometimes it's 800 hours of work from Erika, but it also sometimes is maybe 100 hours of work from someone who had to squeeze in 30 minutes every day because they have a busy life, or sometimes it's having to repaint the same model 3 times because you weren't happy with it, or whatever it is. So quite a lot of these entries have that story to them. And I think, because this was my first bigger event, and it opened my eyes to the fact that, these are not just plastic minis that someone takes and slams into the cabinet and then, whatever. It definitely isn't. So many thoughts on the projects, and from building and from picking colors, and from doing the work on them, and the anxiety of bringing them and entering them and hoping they do well, and all of that wasn't that apparent before, because I only ever really saw an entry through Instagram, which cuts all of the connection short. You just see a picture and it's like, ooh, that's nice. But that's it. You get 2 lines of text of someone saying, and this is my finished whatever, right?
Yeah.
So for me, that was really eye-opening, actually. That it's not that I felt it too. I did entries too, and I was obviously proud of them and put them in there, and they had stories too. But it's kind of the whole. Well, it really cements that everyone else isn't just an NPC in your world.
Like, yeah, it is.
No.
I mean, so I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and it's probably maybe worth bridging into part of the discussion, because I don't want to get into kind of this idea of judging, because I think that's frankly a can of worms, and I think it can be construed as kind of attacking winners, and which is not something I want to do. But basically, I think it's fair to say that post Golden Demon, there's been a lot of posts on socials with people kind of sharing their frustrations with how they did. And we said this would happen ultimately. Not we, like this is some grand prediction, but the community knows it will happen. And one of the things I particularly find frustrating in the debate is when people are like, well, it's just painting miniatures, so why are you taking it so seriously? And that's, to your point, that's not the case. Like, yes, we take little plastic dudes and we put paint on them. And yeah, when you think about it that way, sure, it doesn't sound that important, but people put themselves on those shelves. It is not like it is their artistic expression, it is their vision, it is their work and effort, it's their personality, it's their interpretation. Here is a little piece of myself that I am taking this leap into the unknown of placing on these shelves and putting it up for judgment. And then we shouldn't be surprised if people don't kind of get the award that maybe they hoped for, that they're devastated by that.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
I will say, kind of within that, just to link into a previous thing you said, meeting Erka and then like almost becoming a fan. I did do that. I did that real bad.
For sure.
Like I knew kind of coming in, like, okay, who are the people I'll be cheering on? Like anyone in our group, absolutely. Perfectly honest, I was hoping for big things for you, so that was like a kind of point of nerves. But then, and both of us had talked about kind of really hoping that Liam got a demon. And then had that conversation with Erka, and I'm like, right, I'm immediately rooting for Erka. I will be screaming his name. And a few others that happened with it. I'm like, I know I should be happy whoever wins, because you're happy for
of
them,
course,
and we're all in this together. But I'm going to be really cheering for this person now.
Yeah, one of those people were, for me, for sure, also Christian Clausen, who came. He had silver in Old World, and I met him at the day of registration. I had just put my stuff in, and I wanted to try and go back and see some stuff, and he was in queue, and he turned around and he was like, "Oh, I know you from social media." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, how you doing?" And really chill guy. He kind of squeezed it in the sense that he had work to do following Monday close by, and it kind of lined up with the Golden Demon. So he was like, well, I guess I might as well go. He's been to Monty and stuff before. But he was like, yeah, sure, I'll go. And he picked out a few things from home, and then then brought it. And it was pretty clear for me that he was just there to take in the event, there to put his models in the cabinet and hope to do the best. And I think the whole, I am here kind of by accident, and I took my best stuff and I put it in. I am hoping for the best, expecting nothing kind of attitude throughout was amazing to me, because it also meant that he had quite a lot of freedom to just be excited for everyone. If you're very invested in your own doing good, you can be somewhat, well, not everyone, but you can at least be somewhat held back in, well, I hope everyone wins territory. And he definitely was not. And he then ended up getting a couple of silvers, which was amazing to me. So it's, some people who just are quite relaxed with it, and just, it's not that I was pretty relaxed, but I wanted to win too. I mean, I was hoping that at least one of my pieces was good enough. But I had a lot of people I rooted for.
Like you obviously hope for the best for your work.
Yes, of course.
I think anyone that claims otherwise is maybe kidding themselves as much as anything. I do think Carl Mikkel from our community puts this into words really well. I think he comes into it with a very good mentality of like understanding that, there are things that I want, and I'm not going to deny those, but equally I'm not going to take anything for granted. And I think that perspective is really, really healthy. But you then kind of also get invested in the stories of other people. And you see Erka's piece, or you see that giant diorama, or if you've been following people on like their socials, like I was really invested to see Andy's piece because of the Cult of Paint stuff, and then we'd all kind of kept an eye on Rich Gray's Autark and things like that. There are pieces that you all look out for and are interested in, and then people that you find on site and then get interested in. Everything fits within this rubric of the vibes, and I'm gonna be one of those real bastards now and say this, that unless you have been to one of these things, the vibes are very, very hard to explain, and it really is.
It's impossible.
It's impossible, and it's worth going to feel the vibes. Now, I'm also going to say something that I thought I never would. Which was I've spoken in the past certainly about this idea of, I see a lot of people saying like just enter competition. And I disagree with that. I still do. I think there are some people for whom competition does little, and for whom it may actually demoralize them and really set them on a bad path, and maybe kind of take their joy out of the hobby. I wouldn't ever claim like you have to enter a competition. But I definitely say now, go to one. Even if you don't enter anything, go to a competition to meet like-minded people, to feel the vibes, to be a part of it. Because if you're passionate about miniatures, you will find a new home there, and it will expose you in ways that you perhaps weren't anticipating. And I think that experience is so positive and so valuable ultimately.
Yeah, and especially because I don't believe at all that taking a mini and putting it into the cabinet is necessarily a ticket to be there. I mean, you can show up and you can connect with people, and if they ask, what did you put? You just say, I didn't put anything. I'm here to look at stuff and reach out and connect with people, and no one will frown upon it. I mean, it's very valid, and I think some people might think that you have to kind of, well, if I go, I have to put something, and you don't, not at all. I mean, more people is better. So yeah, I will say that, and especially a golden demon like this one, I don't think we should go deep into judging and who won and all of that. but I will put some words on it still, because it actually kind of it opened my eyes to some things, and I had a profound takeaway on it, because so much talk about judging, right?
Yeah, maybe before you get into that briefly, just kind of cap off that day 2, because at the end of day 2 things were happening in that pieces were getting taken away and put back with the ever mysterious stickers on. And that's where that kind of initially we were like, okay, well, your bastion's been commended. We're also like, oh, are these pieces being commended? And then these pieces are at this level, and what does that mean? And there was that. But speaking personally, that was the only bit of the day I really didn't like, because there's so many unknowns and you don't know what it means, and it could probably give, I could imagine someone looking at a cabinet and misinterpreting, thinking, oh, I've not got anything. Oh, maybe I've got this. And I kind of wish maybe they'd waited until people had gone, but maybe that's not possible with how the event is run. So that was just a thought. But regardless, we went away Saturday night. We came back Sunday morning, and then the mystery was cleared up. We knew what had what. And so this is perhaps a good then bridge for you to talk about, because then the judging was largely done, and probably that was an interesting opportunity for you to reflect on things. So have at it.
Yeah, I mean, at end of Saturday, well, my end of Saturday when we left at 3-4 or something, I don't think I had any stickers yet on anything, and lots of entries actually already had stickers, which can feel a bit, because everyone is kind of talking about those stickers, as you said. And well, one sticker means one thing and another thing, and then they switch it around a bit every year, and so it's a huge guessing work. And sometimes you will have lots of stickers in a category and you don't have any, and you're thinking, well, I guess I get nothing then. I mean, as I said, when I
take that,
and as I said, when I went home at 4 or whatever, lots of entries already had stickers on them, because they kind of did a bit of pre-look, I think, and put some initial stickers on some of it, at least. And even the ones that didn't have any stickers of mine, I ended up with 2 pins, a commended and a demon. So putting too much value on those stickers, and when you have them, it can lead to some things that are not great for your experience in competition.
Yeah, and conversely, on that note, like my squad had on the end of Saturday 4 stickers on, and ended up with absolutely nothing. So putting stock in stickers is perhaps a foolish thing, and we maybe as a community could do with like just forgetting about it, because it's an internal thing, maybe something we shouldn't overanalyze.
No, it really isn't, in the sense that I know they have meaning to them, but they have meaning to them for the judges mostly, right? So putting your 10% of meaning and have it be basically the 100% for you, when 90% of the meaning is really for the judges, is really dangerous, right?
Yes.
So we ended the Saturday at kind of like, we had ideas, right? And everyone starts talking about it and stuff like that. And it is, well, it's another point of excitement. It's just, I want to be clear, putting too much stock on it is really dangerous. So Sunday, I came just as they were pulling commended entries out of cabinets again. So they had judged everything, mostly at least. And then they pulled all the commendeds out, because voting for Slayer's sword for. They couldn't just take the golds out because then everyone would know what got gold, right? So they took all the commendeds out and then did their sword judging. But that meant I didn't get to see all of them. And you can almost, you can't remember every entry, yes. Which means because so much is going on. So, well, for example, when we got to Dio, I could see that, well, Ericus is gone. And a few others. And then we tried, okay, so it's this one, this one, this one, and this one. I'm missing 2. And it's not like you didn't see them or they weren't fantastic, but it's just almost impossible to remember every one of them. So I think that the most, holding your breath moment was when they took all of those out and started judging. But what I wanted to say before was that when they took the commendeds, you looked into cabinets and the entries that were left, a lot of them were amazing entries.
Yes.
Which meant, well, you had quite a lot of entries that were then notable and pins left in cabinets. And then the whole thing with people talking, who got what, why is this one down there, what happened, what... And I haven't been to other Golden Demons, but to me it felt like this was kind of different in the sense that all the things that people thought they kind of knew about the competition and judging was, well, kind of out the window. Because it looked like almost the old or usual rubric or whatever you want to call it, the things you could count on before, you couldn't really count on it because you had fantastic pieces that, well, it's a pin. Well, we thought it would be something different, and that can feel a bit strange or a bit bad even. But that's why, so a few hours of that, commendeds come back, people talk about the commendeds, who's the likely 1, 2, and 3, and then you prepare for going to ceremony.
Yeah, and that was like not the worst, but that was the weirdest moment I think for me in the whole competition. Yeah. Definitely if you were to go by like vibes and feel, definitely the worst. Yeah. I was coloured because I was at a bit of a low point there anyway because I was really bummed out about the squad. And I had a bit of because the car from where our hotel was to Spiel was like a 40-minute drive, realistically. And then actually once you factor in parking and getting to the venue, you've got basically an hour. And so there's a period where I was like, I knew the squad had nothing, because you sent me the world's saddest photo of them just like at the bottom of the cabinet, just on their own. Like, oh, that's real sad. And then from my perspective, I'm like, well, that's my best work, no doubt. And I still think that. And if that got nothing, well, maybe that's a bit of a slap in the face for me in terms of like, is it the motivation to up your game? But you never feel that in the moment. You just feel bummed out. Yes. And I will say that actually it didn't take me too long to just more get into the vibes of what the friends were feeling and our community around us were feeling, sure. And that was easier. But definitely you can't have a competition without disappointment. You certainly can't compete in one without disappointment for most of us. When I say most of us, 99.9% of us. And so that was a particularly brutal morning. Because there were a lot of people like, what, this only got, and this piece X only got this award Y was the most repeated thing there. Like, that's only notable, that got nothing, that's a pin but not commended, that's a commend. Like, those were the questions, which is not wow, look at all these miniatures. Wow, what incredible work. Wow, what incredible paint job. So that bit sucked. I've like
I agree.
Yeah, as a first time Golden Demoner, that was my least favorite part, and is probably the one that will stick in mind for the next one I go to, and how I manage my expectations and think about that.
And it kind of changed my view on things. We had a longer talk with Richard because Richard had his autoc be notable. And he knew at the end of Saturday. So he actually did a socials post that he, afterwards said he kind of regretted, but, and I think it was kind of a frustration one. And then in the morning, it was a pin, but whatever. But it was one of those where that was a bit weird, and people had been talking about it like it probably would be something else. And that's the danger of like, oh, this is surely getting this thing and this, because there's no surely. I mean, in the end, it is up to the judges to judge which one gets what. Yeah. And for that reason, we kind of had a talk with Richard, and he said, well, it seems like some things are changing a bit, and the whole idea of trying to please judges by painting, because if it was just clear what they wanted and what would win, painters could paint to it.
Yes.
And he said so, and he's right. So if you knew the rubric and it was really transparent, people could paint to it. And obviously they also don't want that. So there is a combination of things, I think, in the whole judging. And I mean, I won't go into what is what, but it just means that even though you thought, well, for sure this one is at least commended, it's probably a demon, anything can happen. So when Richard said, I think I'll pick projects and have fun on them instead of crunching for a demon, it really resonated, and it was something I carried for the rest of that day, because putting in hundreds of hours on a project, put it in a cabinet, everyone says it's fantastic. You're sure you're gonna get something, and you get a pin. It's not that you aren't in a league of fantastic paint jobs, because there were a lot of fantastic paint jobs that quote unquote only got a pin. I mean, the level was really, really high, and you could see, others also fell short, or whatever you want to call it, but didn't quite get there. So it's not like you were necessarily out of place with your paint job, but when people kind of hype you up to, oh, this is really good, this will get whatever, and it doesn't, it feels so bad. So putting more stock into, in the end, it's a marketing event. It is judges picking what they thought was best. And sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. But putting more value into the community and sharing of things and hyping each other up and being excited about what is here and what is potentially coming in terms of projects, and because it's a real, like a huge source of inspiration too.
Yes.
So leaning harder on those things and much less hard on, this will get whatever award, is something, I mean, I will need to do that too. I know, because I don't want to be in a situation where I put a lot of effort and thought, surely this will get whatever. I had entries that I well, entries. I thought the Grum would be commended. I thought so. I looked at the cabinets, I talked with people, and I thought it would be commended. And it wasn't. And when it isn't, well, it feels a bit bad, right? But it's not
just a
like...
little, just a little bit bad.
I mean, it's just
it's
the truth
devastating.
of it.
No, it is. It's gutting. It really is gutting.
Yes. But then I look in the cabinet and I'm like, well, sure, it's about the same level as this one and this one. So I guess it's not that it's unfair. It just feels really unfair.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I think it's maybe snapping out the assumption that anything is foretold and anything is anything is like due a certain level or a certain award or a certain thing, because this, we're talking about judging and ranking art. Like, unfortunately, there's no way you can plug that into a robot and have it churn out your 1, 2, and 3. It's just not possible. And so there will always be winners and losers. And it just so happens that in this particular rubric, the losers are really devastated, because it's not just like 90 minutes on a football pitch. And this isn't to say, I'm not trying to compare and contrast, but more give a sense of, take the squad, which for me was probably 200 hours. It's a long amount of time to invest yourself, and then for it to get like not a notable at the end of it, it was, that's pretty brutal. And it was just like, oh God, what am I not seeing? What am I not doing? What am I not thinking of? And those are important thoughts to have, but it's very hard to have them in a public competition venue where you're still trying to cheer your mates on, where you're still excited for other people. That is challenging. And I do think actually one of the things that I really appreciate is if you're on the Cult of Patreon, Andy's videos post Adapticon, where he talks about his mental health and his headspace after that competition. And it was nice to meet Andy. I always forget how bloody muscular he is when you see him. This dude walking around like, right, Christ, that's Andy. It's nice to tell him that in person as well, as I really like his stuff, his style. But I think those are particularly illuminating on how you can end a competition and almost just be like pulling your hair. What am I doing? Like, what am I not seeing? And that is particularly tough. But we got through that, and then we come to 3:00/4:00 for the awards ceremony. So you had 2 commended entries in Open and AOS Single. And Ollie Primaris Project, who was with us, had a commended in Necromunda. Yes, Necromunda. And so we kind of waved you off into the auditorium where you went for your briefing, and we kind of filed in afterwards. So I guess I'd love to know your thoughts from kind of there to hearing your name. The bronze goes to Magnus. How was that? I'm really curious.
Okay, so obviously when I saw the commendeds, I went back to the cabinet, took them in, looked at what was what, and quickly kind of, I still had Richard Gray in the back of my mind, right? So I quickly made up my mind. I will hope for the best, but I'm not going to expect anything. All of these are fantastic entries. I could see losing to any one of those. So I kind of kept telling myself it might fall short, while still hoping, right? But when you're in that auditorium and you kind of look down the rows, it's all your friends. It's everyone you've celebrated with for an entire weekend. There are none of those guys I wouldn't want to win. I mean, so for me, that was not a tough wait or a tough anything, because it felt, and I think they did a really good job in putting into words, this is a celebration of all of you. Everyone here won.
Yes.
And, well, we picked 1, 2, and 3, but it's not because you didn't do fantastic work. Everyone actually did. And yeah, that put me at ease somewhat. I mean, because I was like, well, it's true though. All of these guys already won, and it would be hard for me to pick 1, 2, and 3 too. So expecting nothing was really my go-to. We went on stage for Open first, and I thought that was actually my best shot, because Open was a bit, I'd say, strange in the sense that you have all kinds of entries going up against each other. One is a duo, one is a single, one is big, one is small, one is purple, one is blue, one is, I mean, some styles and other styles.
Category. Yeah.
It's all kinds of things, and it was, the things there were not typical Open things either. So I thought to myself, this is probably my best bet of getting an award, and I didn't. And I will say I didn't feel bad about it afterwards, because I knew it was 1 out of 5 or 6 or whatever, and I really saw it as that. Well, you have 1 out of however many is in the category, and it's not purely luck here. Of course, it's not. But there is some kind of almost like luck involved, because you need to be falling into exactly what judges were looking for on that specific day to get it. It's not that I was up against font in AOS, and everyone knew that, well, that's a goal. So it's not.
He's a tough man to go against, isn't he?
Yeah. So sometimes it's not about luck, of course. But I'm just saying, when you're competing against others and it's really the margins, it feels a bit more like, well, any of these could have won on the day. And then we went through more winners, and in the end it was, or for me, it was the AOS.
Which I will say, like, for my nerves, if we can think about me in your moment of glory, like, Open is one of the first categories announced, and then AOS single is one of the last. So I was just like, oh god, it's real nerve-wracking. Like, I'm one of those people that you know, I've talked about having anxiety disorder in the past. I would get real secondhand anxiety, so I'm there like peeling the chair up and things. I was like, oh god, please. But then AOS single finally was called, and he took the stage a second time.
And they announced me as bronze, and I was genuinely surprised, in the sense that, not surprised that the model could take anything, but more, you've put yourself in that headspace of, well, it might not get anything, so don't be too down on yourself if you don't. And then having your name called is it's fantastic. So I was really, really pleased, and of course super happy with the result. As I said, I could have lost to any of the other entries, and gotten. And I don't want to say nothing, because and that's one of my thoughts afterwards too, is that for everyone who was there, these commendeds didn't get nothing. They didn't. They got commended, and it was a tough field, and they were inched out on margins, which means I'm a bit, the whole idea of, you then get that little card or whatever, and it says commended, and you go home and you put it on Instagram that you got commended or whatever. To me, it's just, I mean, I wish they did a bit more for the commendeds, so everyone in a broader audience could see that they actually mean it when they say, well, everyone here won. It's not like they need mini demons or whatever. But it would be nice if it was a plaque or a coin or whatever, just something, so that you could see it's distinct from the others, and these are real winners. Because I think that's why maybe some people feel like, this one should have gotten a demon, not this one, Because if it was more of a, well, everyone here was gold.
Yes.
We just have 3 platinums.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like the Slayer Sword. No one, there's only one Slayer Sword winner, and no one's like, well, all the other stuff that got Golden Demons got nothing. That's a ridiculous statement. But because of how it's structured, you kind of do view commended as a lesser thing than bronze, silver, or gold.
Yes, which it is, but it is on margins.
Yes.
It's the slightest of things sometimes. And sometimes it's literally just a feel. I feel this one is a bit better. Okay, so it gets it from the judges' vote. So that's one of the things where I would wish it was a bit different. I wish that they would inch towards more of that, because they are actually saying it when we are there at ceremony. So that's the only thing that and then Carmichael's vignette, of course.
Of course, yeah. You have to be subscribed to the Patreon to hear Carmichael's incredible views on what new category should exist.
Yes.
I will say probably the only thing outside of what you've mentioned is the vibes on stage were impeccable.
Insane.
Everyone who was commended, hugging each other, cheering each other on, like...
Yes.
I think sometimes it's structured, or it's kind of presented, well, you're on stage and you're all in competition and there's only one winner. But the vibes, like, was just super chill. I think excluding watching yourself and Ollie take the stage, watching you take that demon, watching Erka win, that was pretty special. 2 golds. I think my favourite moment was DiCello's gold in Old World. I love that dude. He's the nicest man in the world. I was just like, when he got the goal, he was so happy, and vibes are impeccable. And the award ceremony was run quite well. It must be quite tough because it's just a dude on the front with a phone having to read a million categories in many different European languages. And hoping for the best. But considering that, it did run smooth. And there was no my personal hatred of, and the gold goes to, drum roll. It's like, no. Bronze, silver, gold. And that supports that idea of this idea that if you're commended, you've won. You have won. There is just a gold, silver, and bronze, which sounds silly, but if you're there, you understand. Of course, as well, Phoenix lifting his first golden demon was pretty special. Really.
Taro just...
Taro going nuts. Yep. That dread fleet. Oh, it's a nice mini.
It's amazing. Yeah. Mm.
And then...
it was really special. I honestly, it was. It felt like celebration, and much more than some winners and some losers, which was really great to see. That it did really feel like celebration of the winners. I thought it was it couldn't have been much better. Definitely not. No.
And really so kind of that ended, and there's kind of like this wash-up phase where you have to collect your miniature, which is a bit of a pain, but there's no easy way of doing that, unfortunately. But then kind of we were just with groups with the minis out, and just the artist opus stand, which I think solidified themselves as very community driven by the way that they were just helping people, like if they needed repairs. I said it before on here that Byron's good people and putting his money where his mouth is there. But then people just crowding around there, getting minis out, holding them in hand. Getting to see Infernal Brush's Slayer sword winning piece right up close. Pretty special. You got to hold really on ours diorama piece in hand. That's one of the things that I won't necessarily talk too much about because it's one of those things that you have to be there, but the vibes there, absolutely impeccable. Yes. Delicious. Yes. So looking at time on this, I guess I have 2 questions. one you've actually already kind of answered, but I would like to know if there's any further reflections. One is, do you think it's going to be in Europe again next year? That seems to be a consensus. And would you like it to be there?
Yes, it seems to. Yeah.
It seems to. Yeah, and this is getting political on our miniature painting podcast. But, this is largely maybe a result of Brexit and the fact that a European event is better for Europe at large than it would be hosting it in the UK. And Germany's bloody nice. I mean, shout out to Max, who tied community together through force of will, being local to the area, hosting people like Aaron and things like that. Max is good people. I think he's Max. He's painting. Max Wool Paints on Insta. What an absolute legend of a man.
Yes.
But so the second more critical question then is, are you going to do anything different as a result of Golden Demon?
Somewhat, in the sense that I think I will be fretting much less, in the sense that of course I want to bring things that are good, but so we've talked about it before, 90% takes us as long as the next 9%, and those combined takes almost as long as the last 1%. And I'm no fond, and I know it, but of course I'll be working towards it. But I think I will be fretting less and having more fun, trying all kinds of colors and all kinds of models and all kinds of things. So yeah, I think so. And I think for me it already has kind of changed my outlook, in the sense that, yeah, I want to win more demons. I really do. But I also, now I can see how kind of fragile it is, that so many things are completely out of your hands, even if you did your very best and poured all the time and all the energy into it. So I think, yeah, I'm not going to do any 800-hour projects. No, I won't, because it might as well fall short. I will do my best, of course, but I will be mindful that, okay, so now I'm in obsession mode, and I mean, are you ready to do that for a judge to say this is notable?
Yeah,
I don't think I am. And while Golden Demon is really something special, I want to be going to open competitions too, where I think they are, because it is open, they have more of a range. So you can get your bronzes and silvers and golds or nothing. But you have more range, so it's not one tiny mistake that makes it so that, well, you just fell short, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that will be my change probably. Going forward, yeah.
It's and yeah, good reflections there. It's those were the worst and the best conversations I think I had, which was like, I put 500, 800 hours into these pieces and they got this, and it's almost like I don't know what to do. I do not know what to do, and I really understand that. It must be incredibly hard, and I wonder, as I've said on the Discord, I wonder whether that will change, because there is an element of, it's not just a case of the amount of hours you put in equals an award. It's simply not. No. And in many ways, that's a good thing, because then the only people that could compete would be the people that can devote that amount of time to something, which is a good thing, I think, in terms of health of competition. So yes.
Yeah, we had I logged into Discord when we came home, and I gave a bit of talking on the event in total and the judging, because everything was kind of started on socials already. And while it can be discouraging looking at let's just say Richard's all-talk and thinking, well, if this one doesn't win anything, I stand no chance. But you should be looking much more with the eyes of, yeah, but something else won, so maybe I actually do stand a chance. So I think if you try and get out of the negative headspace around it and get more into, well, sometimes they are looking for something different that you can't really put into words right now, means that it becomes about shooting your shot. It becomes about creating something beautiful that you really like and that you put effort and time and heart into. But you should do it for you. You should not do it for getting a demon. You should do it for potentially being able to get a demon. So you do it more for you than for winnings. Is the real takeaway, I think.
Yeah, and I can't put anything better than that. So that's a good point to wrap up the Golden Demon chat. What I no, that's me trying to put a conclusion on things. Bad Bruce, terrible person. So then, as tradition dictates, what are you painting and what are you learning?
Yeah, so I've started to try and transition into dad mode, in the sense that real soon I will be having Nelly on my own. This coming Monday, will be guarding her, guiding her.
The next podcast, the dad chat, is going to be deep. Shit. That's going to be 2 hours right there. No problem.
Of me just trying to not cry and bend and not cry and bend. So I'm trying to kind of transition into that, which means I try to paint more during the day and less during the night. So I have less of those 5 hours in a row sit down crunch sessions, but I'm continuing work on the Trugeth I started already. And we've gotten to, well, most of the things that you don't see. So backside and under whatever and stuff.
It's okay, because it's a really small model. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So it's not, well, so I will say that I'm at least halfway through it, and it's beginning to be something where you really enjoyed it, and now you're like, I would really enjoy it to be finished. Yeah, so I'm still in on that one, and now, of course, that we are post Golden Demon, I'm starting to think about, so what do I want to either complete to put it into Adapticon in 6 months, or 5 months, and what do I want to start to have something to put there, and it's I'm not too sure which ones are which, and I almost forgot podcasting today, actually, as I was about to go to local game store and be inspired. So I still have that to do.
I was a bastard and kept you back.
Nah, no, I scheduled this myself. So so this is on me. So I will be going and trying to get inspired and seeing what could be cool. I think I want to paint something from the smaller ranges, because the models, frankly, are really fun. A lot of them, because they are not geared towards a big army with a lots of uniformity, and you want that every model to be a bit unique, which shows on the sculpts. So I'll try and pick something from there, and we'll see.
Awesome. So I am just finishing off Halgrim. That is the number one project for the Rich Grey Bone Zone Challenge. I'm really happy with that piece. There's a few things that I have struggled on historically, which I've executed on. I actually also learned that I'm a little stippling freak. Love putting little dots on cloth for some reason. Don't know why that was the most fun I've had painting in a while. But that mini is a dream. I don't know what it is. It has a few things I really like. It's tiny, which I know some people really don't like. I really love it for some reason. It's hot shit, that model. Everyone should paint it, although the eBay prices are probably ramped up as a result of Richard Gray. And then learning's been a good, not necessarily tying this into Golden Demon, but trying to take bases a lot more seriously and not necessarily an afterthought. I wouldn't fully say that they were an afterthought, but that working to implement them and give them due care and attention, and not just say, well, this is on a plinth, therefore it looks good. There's a lot there that I really took away from looking in the cabinets and looking at other pieces. And my Halgrim is an attempt at, I'm looking at the base here as I look off camera, of improving that. So fingers crossed that I can take that, because I'll also be rebasing the squad. That's so wanting to do a good job on that and having some ideas, and just getting a Dremel and going ham with Dremeling stuff and not inhaling resin, all good things. And then the second thing, I mean, Genesis was conversation you and Phoenix had, and then I got thoroughly told off on site by Phoenix, Liam H, and yourself in regards to kind of self-talk. And it was funny because obviously I finished the previous Golden Demon podcast talking about the mental health aspect and the importance of it. And it did take Phoenix being like, stop talking yourself down, stop acting this way, in a very Phoenix way, but in a way that definitely resonated with me. And so that I really took to heart. I had a little bit of soul searching after that, and trying to square some of my own thoughts kind of growing up in this Instagram era of seeing everyone's best work presented beautifully and how that can relate to your own work. That was a real healthy discussion for me. Getting a bit emotional as I say it, but that's what I was like. I came back from Golden Demon. I got with my entries, I got 3 notables and nothing for the squad. The squad is the best work, and that for me was key. That's good work. That's a good mini. I'm a good painter. That's important, I think. And so coming into Halgrim, looking at the next projects I'm doing, like the working assumption is you talk yourself up. You let the judges talk you down if needs be, but you talk yourself up. I think that's a good, healthy space to be in. And it's definitely reinvigorated a lot of my painting enthusiasm. So shout outs to the 3 of you. Bros, good homies, got my back. Well, that will then do it. We've gone way over our typical hour record, so we'll allow it. It's fine. What I just wanted to say here at the end, we both spoke to a lot of people at Golden Demon, and it's just not possible to name everyone. I tried to write a list before this record. It was not happening because I knew I'd miss someone out, and that would be just as bad as kind of as I did on Instagram, tried to create a list. It's a bad idea. So just want everyone to know that I know I speak for you here, Magnus, but like the conversations that I had was so valuable. There is stuff that will last me a lifetime just from that event, and it was really appreciated. To everyone that said thank you digitally, in person, to everyone that just connected, reached out, to the people we saw in our lovely shirts from the community at large, the people that came with us, the fun that we had. That meant more to me than I can ever put in words, ever. I'll never be able to cover that. We have a pretty special community, I think, and a pretty special hobby.
Yeah, so this is a two-part, because we have a special community, and the community I mean is mini painting to display level. It is really, really special. We have our own isolated community with people reaching in and out and stuff like that, but we have our own circle. But the wider circle that is competition painters, I guess, is absolutely fantastic. I came home from Germany with a demon, and I can say wholeheartedly that was not the biggest thing for me. It was everyone I met, everyone being nice, the reaching out, the people connecting over minis. The beer shared, the food eaten, the conversations, the thank yous, the congratulations, all of that cannot really be measured. And I think I said it before we went into ceremony. If I walk home with 2 commendeds, I'm over the moon, because, well, all the other things have been absolutely insane. So even though I got a demon, the kind of like the biggest achievement of Golden Demon was letting me connect with people I wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So on that emotional note,
Yeah.
goodbye, everyone. We'll see you at the next competition. We'll see you at the next video. We'll see you in the next podcast. Love you all. I'm not even going to say the usual entry. I'm too emotional. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.